I used to always delay things, and in this video I'll give you 3 simple steps that will make you take action. I recently wrote a free guide on procrastination, and it felt like such a chore to write. It felt like I just had to force myself to do it, and so I often didn't end up doing it. I ended up genuinely pacing my room back and forth instead of opening it up and just starting it. And it felt so difficult for me. I felt like I just couldn't force myself to do it. Even though I wanted to do it, I still couldn't get to the point of starting. And this is where I applied the 3 steps that I'm going to share with you right now. Number 1, set an intention to do it. This is as simple as saying, I am going to do this at this time, here, and after this. Just having as specific instructions for yourself as possible. I will begin writing at 6 p.m. right after I eat dinner. Something like that. I used that, and it just made me that much more likely to start. Whenever you plan things out in your head, you actually end up doing it more often. We imagine ourselves going back home and watching TV, and so we do. When you imagine yourself doing something and you plan it out, you end up doing it. Number 2, set a reminder. I personally prefer alarms, but whatever works for you works for you. Even a sticky note would work. Just something to remind yourself of the intention that you set. I, again, prefer alarms because they're loud and blaring. You have to hear them. And so that works for me. But again, it could be a text reminder. It could be, again, a sticky note on your computer. Anything that will remind you of it. Number 3, make it feel so easy that you have to do it. Whenever I first started to write, I would go ahead and open everything up. I would get my notes out. I would get hyped up to write. I would make it as easy for myself to just go ahead and start writing. I had everything set up. I was already into it. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to start from scratch and have to force yourself to work your way up to the point of starting. You just want to be right there, and all you have to do is take the first step. It's much easier to take a step than to run a marathon. You might as well go ahead and start at the finish line than start at the very back. This works because your brain doesn't like doing stuff. Your brain wants to conserve as much energy as possible. And so right here, you're making it so that your brain plans it out ahead of time, so it's not confused and overwhelmed. It's go ahead and reminded so that you don't forget. And you also make it as easy as possible, so you just have to take a step. And your brain loves that. Your brain will love only having to take one step to start. Really, it's just making it as easy as possible for you to just take that first step. This is what we're focusing on, because when you take that first step, you're that much more likely to take the second. If you want to go ahead and take the first step easier, I wrote a free guide about procrastination down in the description.